tell me about your character.
Well, Ezra is right now 20 years of age. She is a red dragon female disguised as a human. She comes from a noble background. She can speak Common, Draconic, Elvish, and Orcish. She is also a enchantment wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Her cantrips are Prestidigitation, Firebolt, and Ray of Frost. Her first level spell is Charm Person, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, and Unseen Servant.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, she is, because her father was a nobleman, she resides in a village in Tulung. This village is called the Snowflower. And this village also is neighboring to the Sabuki village, which it's the neighboring village.
What's the translation for Sabuki?
It is camellia flower. Camellia flower. I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it.
So it's Camellia and Snowflower are the names of the villages.
Yep. Currently, right now, she is a barony. With the Tulung, because she resides in Tulung, it means that she does have extra land, which is why there's the second village. From what we had talked about, you had said her father had passed, so right now she is just a baroness in this land, and she is, as far as personality, she's kind of still figuring everything out. She doesn't have a very, I didn't want to go, this is her personality, because at her age, and because she is impersonating a human, I don't know if you wanted to add the backstory, if you want to tell the backstory for her dad and how he actually got her, or you want me to?
He would have, my concept on it is he was the last of his family and he was incapable of having children.
Okay.
He was, despite being a nobleman, he had chaotic good tendencies. So he wanted the best life for his people. He's kind of a loosey-goosey baron. He wasn't micromanaging anybody's life or whatever else. He did tend to protect his people. He was an ex-adventurer, which was enough to intimidate the other barons from trying to attack or take his land. Especially considering, just like you, he was a member of the Tulung faction, which means he had twice as much land as he normally would have had. In the earldom that you're a part of, which earl is just another name for count, which is like a tenth of the size of a duchy, or, you know, a duke or a duchess's land mass that they would have and control over. The other barons are not above seizing another baron's land, even though they're technically under the same earldom, because sometimes if they can come up with an excuse on why you're a bad person and successfully tell the lord, oh, he was a traitor, so I just had to take his land. Your dad was an ex-adventurer and half-wizard, and normally fucking with him meant death, and that was an amazing deterrent for a lot of paunchy nobles not to want to die like a bitch.
Okay.
Like, you're gonna put it on the internet?
Yeah.
So, the first problem, we'll get into that in a second. So we were talking about the Baron and the villages that you knew that you grew up in. Tell me about the craftsman that made your treasures.
Oh, the toy maker. Well, because Ezra is a red dragon, and she is impersonated a human, I wanted her to have some of the qualities of a red dragon, which to me that was pride and greed. And I just didn't want her to be, oh, she's a red dragon, so she must be evil. I didn't see it like that, but I did want some of the traits that red dragons have to kind of flow into her personality. So one of those was greed, and her idea of wealth is not gold or artifacts, but it's actually stuffed animals. And she sees stuffed animals as being in they have their value she cannot understand. When she tries to value the stuffed animal, they're a mystery to her. They're something that is completely a legendary item to her. So in that, she has, one of her things that she's done as she's been growing up is she found a toy maker that makes some of the best stuffed animals. And at first, her ideal of this man was, well, she was going to turn him into a slave, and he was just a toy maker in the village of Subaki, and he didn't have a family, he was very skilled at making stuffed toys for the children of the village, and at first she was thinking to herself, I can make this man into my slave and hide him in a dungeon and force him to make me toys. But as she slowly kind of got to know him, she realized that if she did that, the quality of the stuffed animals that he created would be diminished. So, what she's been doing for a while now is she's been just kind of following him. Where they built up kind of a friendship because she realizes he's the only one who can make her these stuffed animals to this quality, where to her, when he makes them, he puts so much love and compassion into them, where he turns, these cotton yarn into a living, breathing thing of art is how she views it. It's artistic, it's a treasure to her. So it's in her best interest to kind of make sure he's okay. So, she goes out into the field with him, and when he's gathering components for, his toys, she's constantly kind of following him around. And, he sees her as kind of she's one of the, she's of nobility. So he can't just tell her, get out of here. So it's a strange relationship because, she's just completely obsessed with, his stuffed animals and toys, and he's just kind of a humble toy maker, and so she's, her most of her life as a noble, has been helping her father, but also kind of on the side, amassing this wealth of these really high quality stuffed animals, and she does make sure he's also paid handsomely, for making these, but, she follows him, they've been having conversations, they get along. How I viewed it as they got along really well, because she started to develop feelings for this man as she saw this, as she started to realize these stuffed animals were not only a means of wealth for her, but his craftsmanship into these items, these treasures, were also part of that wealth. So as the story begins, I viewed it as, because she is a dragon and she ages much slower than human beings, when the toy maker dies, because when she first encounters him, he's a bit of an older man with no family, and, the toys are his greatest joy. So I had it in, kind of her backstory that, the story starts off and, the toy maker has died, and she's kind of lost. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. mechanically speaking, since we're recording this, the way that it kind of works in the homebrew is your hit dice to a degree are like your de facto level. So even though you're kind of a... Why are you sad? Okay, mechanically speaking, the way this would work, especially reflected against the homebrew that we built, is that, and this is going to be the boring part, but your character is a creature that starts with 17 hit dice, even though she's a child, because she's not human or humanoid, and she's got her 1 level. So what you really are, in effect, is a solo 18th level character, which means your experience to advance, and everything else has to be based off of that with your starting point. So some things are going to be a little bit wonky or different from when you were playing other types of characters. Like I said, because of the stat difference, one of the changes is, even with all of the potential levels you can get under homebrew, you will never achieve, like, a natural attribute gain like a humanoid character would, and thus you can't have feats. It doesn't really matter because there's certain workarounds you can have. And another thing that I was thinking... Oh, look behind you.
What are you doing up there? Hey, Cutie Pie. What? Are you watching us? Yeah? Cat Urza just jumped up right next to the closet, so to watch us play. So, yeah.
So, just to explain the particulars, because a lot of this is going to be unusual, but here's another part to it too, okay? I like the way that you worked in her greed and covetous nature, which doesn't have to be evil in the way that she views certain treasures. There's another thing that we could do too, because the particular race that you're going to be playing is known for being really, really hot-headed. And this is something that was part of White Wolf and was also part of the DC role-playing game. And so I wanted to ask whether or not you were interested in this. If somebody actually does something to really piss your character off, do you want to do that as a... You have to make like a willpower roll or a wisdom check?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Also be aware that because of the way that we're using like the dragons-based stuff for that, you do have a +6 to your wisdom saving throws, so you're not going to be constantly losing your mind or anything like that because of that. It's just that your temper's going to be far more than a human temper.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's fair. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I like that. I like the idea of, because I don't want to just play her as just a human. It kind of cheapens the reason I want to play her as a red dragon. And I liked having the toy maker there and having followed him through, his age of 40 all the way up into, till he got older, because she was able to follow around a human male as he just went about his daily life. So, she got to see a human's life from the perspective of, what they do day to day. She saw where he would sleep, what he would eat, what gave his life meaning and value. And I like to think that kind of gave her a little bit more perspective and kind of, it gave her a different view on people. It gave it more of a depth. So, when she acts out of rage or anger or hate, it's understanding the true, understanding humans, or knowing they're not just ants on the ground. She realizes that they have a life that they try to bestow meaning into and value into, and they have things they care about, and they are immortal. and they have such a fleeting life that to her, his life happened within the span of a few months in her perception, where for him it was years upon years.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. So I like the idea that she still will have this really heavy temper, but she'll also be humanized enough. I don't want to say humanized, but humanized enough to realize that, if she acts on her temper at all times, that she's not just killing a person, but she's killing everything they've ever established. And I wanted that to be kind of grounded in her for a little bit, like even as young as she is, to just have kind of like a little, I don't know, like a little reminder to her that, it's not just, because she is much more powerful than the humans and villagers that she, is kind of in charge of now as the baroness of these two villagers, but I wanted her to have a reason to care about them.
Well, and I think that's important, because if you remember when we were researching red dragons and stuff like that, and looking at other people's research and interpretations, the really wacky thing about red dragons is how solitary they are.
Yeah.
You can have, for example, green dragons, who are as evil can be, but they're creatures that mate for life and have lifelong companionship.
Yeah.
Red dragons don't do that. Red dragons are like mad, very, very pissed off hermits that just attack things. And literally wouldn't even continue to exist as a species, except for the fact that the males like the prestige of siring children, and the females like the prestige of proving that they can have kids, that they have for a minimal amount of time before they put them out on their own. And then the average young red dragon youngling, unlike any other chromatic dragon type, won't even accept help from other dragons, or even other red dragons, if that had even been a possibility, because what red dragons normally do when they find a red dragon that's weaker, that isn't there for like a mating purpose or something, is they kill them and take their stuff. So, yeah, I think it's a good difference in layers. I think it's a really good difference in layers.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, the craftsman lives in the Snowflower Village?
The Tsubaki Village.
Which one?
The flower, the camellia flower.
The camellia flower?
I'm probably pronouncing it absolutely terrible, but yeah.
Okay.
It's camellia. So the red camellia symbolized a noble death, otherwise red camellia means love. So either noble death or love. So I thought, both seem cool.
Okay. So, the way I'm sort of imagining placing this in Tulum is the very beginning of it is the area of Tulum that you're close to is sort of seaside, but it's kind of mountainous. I imagine the Snowflower village being a farming village that has herding as a part of it, but is at a higher elevation.
Yeah.
Which, kind of like when you're playing Skyrim, as you get to the higher elevations, there's more snow for more parts of the year and everything else. It's a part of that, just because of the elevation differences. And it's a little bit more inland, where the camellia flower is going to be a little bit more seaside, which is going to have a little bit of herds too, but there's going to be a little bit of fishing village and growing village there. Food production is absolutely vital, and you're far enough off that under the protection of the Baron, up until his death, nobody was really messing with it, and when he needed to send his troops forward to be supportive of the local warlords, the fighting, unlike in a lot of Tulum, wasn't running over either one of these villages. They lived in a relative state of peace and prosperity under his protection until his recent death.
Okay.
So, as a matter of instinct, you would have a preference for actually living in the Snowflower village because it's more protected at a higher elevation kind of thing. And I think that's also what we talked about, like one of the wooden forts could be built where it had a subterranean kind of cave aspect to it, where some of it could be behind secret doors where, you know, for the first 5 years of your life, your adopted father raised you. And then this would also be where he would have stored extra stuff like his original spell books that he would have bequeathed to you and everything else as he passed on from life. Basically believing in the idea that if he raised you, regardless of what you were supposed to be as a type, you would be different than that, and then you could look over the things that he cared about and the people that he cared about.
Okay.
The soldiers that your father had for the two, what would normally have been the two barony spots, about half of them moved forward for the last campaign of the last warlord, who with himself, several of his dukes, and several of his earls, several of his barons. You looking for Urza? Literally died in a fight with another local warlord. So there's missing spots and people who would normally keep things more or less peaceful suddenly missing. And as a part of your own faction, and from your father's own lessons on nobility, you kind of have a sense that in this instability, this is where it becomes dangerous times, not just for you as his apparent heir, but for the people that you're supposed to be watching.
Okay.
And so, in the very beginning days, the only other thing that I can think of before we start is that one of the things your father would have made sure that you had right up until you were old enough at age 6 that under the rule set that we're playing under, where we were more creative with, rather than just 2 dragon types get shape change. I still see it as it's, considering sorceress bloodlines and everything else, all dragon types would have had to have that, otherwise you would have black dragon, sorcerer bloodlines, or whatever else. That these powers are available at young adult, which means that they would have first started manifesting in you at age 6, which at this point you're age 20, which is why you walk around in the appearance that you have. But even with that, you would have had a draconic level of appetite, which might have been hard for even a barony to be able to give you. So one of the items your father would have provided you so that you were okay is that you have a magic item called a Ring of Sustenance. that
A dream.
That allows you to get adequate sleep, and that allows you, no matter what, to be adequately nourished. Not saying that you don't still get really super hungry compared to a normal human, even in that form, but just to say that there isn't that ravenous need for basically because in your true form, even right now, you would be pretty huge.
Well, so right now, the Baron just died. Do I know, and just because we had talked about this before doing this first session, that her father had been an ex-adventurer, past wizard, and how he obtained the dragon egg is he actually bought it from the Thavian embassy?
Thavian embassy and Imperial City of Shaolong, which is actually state enemies.
Okay.
But he would have been able to procure that through some of his local merchants, and it was probably done by sea.
Okay.
In other words, brutal truth, a Tulung pirate went up there and made a trade, and then came back illegally, and then, you know, basically, you proved to be what he paid for. In other words, he would have paid for a dragon egg, and you were the dragon egg that was delivered.
Do the villagers, was he a ladies' man, where he would have, tons of ladies around, and then he gets the egg, the egg hatches, she's born into a wormling, and then he has her, kind of hidden away. Would the villagers think that he just, had a woman, had a wife or a concubine that was kind of hidden in the back, and then, she just mysteriously died? Does he have this, Henry VIII, where they're all of a sudden he had a daughter, but we have no idea what happened to his wife. He killed her.
He had a wife who, before you were able to switch forms, died. And basically from something. He never really told you what. He never remarried. He had one or two ladies that he spent his time with. The thing is from the form that you ended up choosing, it looks like he decided that his preference was to be with women who didn't look like his wife, therefore he was with an outsider. Because the thing you keep in mind in Shulog is, it is even split up, and losing the 6 provinces that it did, it's still the largest, most powerful military nation on the face of the planet. Read into that as cocky as that means.
Well, Tulung, from what we had discussed and what you had told me, is they actually openly practice slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
So they could think that he just brought in a slave, or if he was... And I don't know. Now, you said he was chaotic good, so I don't see him, blaming his wife for not being able to produce a heir and then just being like it was her fault, and that's why I had to buy this slave.
The problem with magic is it kills the Henry VIII thing.
Yeah.
The problem with magic is that something as simple as a cleric's thermology could let somebody know if somebody was a dud.
Okay.
And your father was aware of the fact he was the dud.
Aww.
And he was the third son of an entire family of his that had been wiped out over time, be it by plague or whatever else. The reason he was an adventurer was his other 2 brothers should have been the people to have the barony, and then they just died over time. But not to be a burden upon his father, he took up an adventurer's lifestyle. He volunteered for wars. He was a patriot up the 6 provinces, not being under the choking rule of, Shaolong, that if he were to return to it, things would be so congested and stratified. Not that it's entirely fair to say that it's not like that in Tulung, but the rule and the mandates of law that exist in the country to the north of you can be absolutely choking.
Yeah.
Not that it's a bad life, but I mean, if you're a cog in the wheel at this, you will never advance beyond that.
Yeah.
And here, where you're at some point, if it was up to somebody's whim, a peasant could become a nobleman because of ability, or be granted land, and then move forward. There's more freedom. There's also a lot more sort of chaos and evil in that you are in one of those areas where, like Rome, they see nothing wrong with, well, if our local population of farmers has been decimated as a form of warfare, because sometimes nobility, in order to harm their enemy, rather than engage their soldiers directly, will wipe out their farming villages and, I've economically destroyed you. The nation here isn't above going, well, we rounded up your people and everything else, and now they're slaves working the farms of the people that you killed, and this is just punishment.
Yeah.
Or, that kind of thing. So, the thing that's really weird, I think, for a lot of people if they get into the caricature aspect of it is how much more massive the populations are and how much more massive the tracts of land that they're talking about are. If I'm not mistaken, the 6 provinces of Tulum can support 45 warlords. If you were talking about Cormyr by those sizes, even though it's a very, very wealthy traditional thing, would have only supported 3?
Wow.
So, it's a different state of being, and that's nothing compared to the stuff that's just north of here.
Yeah, so a lot of infighting. Okay. I like it. I like it.
I like it.
Setting the president, setting the mood.
Setting the precedent, setting the mood. That said, your father had an advisor who was an older man. He was a monk, not a greatly placed monk, but a monk who took care of his expenses and tracked his things for him, and was also a staunch supporter of the faction. And it's literally Old Man, we typically refer to him though, who's the one that lets you know that your father has fallen, and in the typical fashion that they communicate that is that they were able to retrieve your father's sword, and he never would have given that up in the event he hadn't died.
Now, right now, I'm in the Snowflower Village, and do I know how he died?
Yeah, there were 2 warlords that were just in conflict. And the warlord that your father supported did not lose, but did not survive. In other words, the 2 fought each other to a stalemate, but both sides had quite a bit of their nobility that fell. So the political area that you would be in right now would be in search for who out of the 10 dukes that would have been under the warlord will be the next warlord. So in your particular area, there's about to be a lot of infighting amongst the nobility itself to see who the next person to rise to that prominence will be.
Okay.
Be it by politics, or be it by dueling.
Okay.
And then, on top of that, it isn't just the dukes that are going to do that, because there's going to be spaces now that are open under those levels where people have fallen. There will be people trying to rise up to the next level in the area that you're in. And it sounds like, well, because of this, the other side that was just fought to a standstill would be able to come in easily and sweep over it, but they're going through the same sorts of problems. It's just their particular warlord, limped off the field and will not be in a position to fight someone else. And is the way that it's kind of going to work off well for your particular area is that you're kind of so coastal that there's only really 2 warlords that would have fought for the land that you're on. And the more aggressive of the 2 is the one that just basically cut off his own legs, metaphorically, in order to try and take over the land or assert his dominance over the other one.
Okay.
And wasn't successful enough and now has to fend off other people coming in at him while he's weakened. So, like I said, the particular status is that right now there may be other barons who try to take your territory from you. You are effectively the baron of 2 baronies. It's a lot of incentive for somebody else to try to take your stuff from you, especially because they might be able to incite my just cause for doing this is she doesn't look like the rest of us.
Okay. Just as a note, I guess, to have it on here, because anyone listening to this will go, well, what does she look like? Well, when I was creating the character, I didn't know what campaign setting we were going to create, so I had her, when, Leyland had told me, well, yeah, we're going to do it, let's do something different. I was like, okay. So I already had the character built and everything else, so I didn't really want to deviate from that, because when I picture her in my mind, I see the same character. So right now, she appears like a very young adult. She's very slight. She's about 5'2", and she has long blonde hair, blue eyes that kind of look green, bluish green eyes, and she's very slight, very small, but she isn't weak, and she doesn't try to use that, so that was what she looks like, so, yeah, but right now, so, her father had just passed away, and the old man had come, and he tells her, so, okay, I think that is right now. So from her perspective now, did she grow up in the Camellia village or the Snowflower village?
Snowflower.
Okay, so
in fact, from your perspective, the very first 6 years of your life would have literally been spending your time growing up without being able to be in your current form, literally within a cave of that. So literally, your concept of your own cradle would have been in the mountainside of the Snowflower.
Okay.
Like if somebody were to ever have taken that from you, that was the place where who you see as your father would have been, and where he raised you, and were that taken from you, you may never be able to have that again.
Okay.
The Camilla village, the treasure there is, that's where the artisan who you like the best is. So between these 2 little pieces that make up your territory, one's where your family was, and one's where your artistic obsessions are.
Okay. Now, upon hearing this news, from, Ezra's point of view, I think the first thing that she'd want to do is get her father's council together to see, where do we stand. who's our enemies, who's our allies right now, to kind of start getting an understanding of now that she's a Baroness, that's going to be something where, she'll probably want to get her father's council together. To see where they stand and, and how to provide support for, the two villages and to kind of keep them away from attacks from the other warlords. So I think that will be my first move, is to, I would, turn to Old Man and, say, this is an immense loss, but my father raised me to be prepared for this, and he'd never wanted to be a noble who just sat and sent, his men to fight. He wanted to be beside them, and we knew this day was going to come. So I think we should honor him by protecting these villages. We need to protect the villages, so I think it would be wise to get the council together.
The council, as it would exist, would be the village elders of each of the two villages. It would be the captain of the guard of the two forts. It would be Old Man.
Okay.
Who isn't just a monk, he kind of serves as sort of like the priest of the areas, even though he's not a cleric.
Okay.
And that within itself is effectively your 5-man council.
Alright, so I will let us get the council together. And one of the things Old Man's going to tell you is, it's sort of in a Game of Thrones style. He's going to be writing and finding out messages from, effectively carrier pigeons, though they're not carrier pigeons, back and forth on who's still players. You said Game of Thrones, and I'm immediately like, I hope you don't have this, scheming, plan of, I know you, so don't, Game of Thrones is just a lot of...
You have insight? You'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, if you want to presuppose, you can make a history roll to try and remember who the other barons are in your immediate area of your earldom, and try and use that as a way to figure out what's going on politically.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the background knowledge. Your father gave you what their insignias are and everything else. You can start making use of that to figure out who's probably going to be a problem.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, make a roll.
Okay. The first roll. Ooh. Oh, man.
What is it?
A 3.
A 3?
3. A 3. These dice are cursed. I actually wanted the purple dice.
You wanted the purple dice?
No, I can't have them now. These are my dice now. I have to live with this.
You have to live with the dice?
Okay,
I
have to live with these dice.
Alright, at 11 I can give you this much information, but until you consult with Old Man and he has time to have his birds go by, you can know nothing more. The positive is, out of the other barons, there are 2 others that are a part of the proper Tulung faction that you can have faith in.
Okay.
And that also means that between the 3 of you, out of the 10 effective possible baronies, you're 60% of that, which means there's effectively 4 barons that could be coming for you had they survived.
Okay.
And this is also assuming that those two other ones aren't dead, which, like I said, there's relative news to try and find out whether or not that's true. And the other political news that I'll give you for an 11 is that the Earl, quote-unquote, count, the person who your father would have reported to, died in the same battle as your father. So that means there's a possibility that the other barons might flex, because whoever controls more than half automatically becomes next Earl, which means you move from a wooden fort to a castle.
Ooh.
Which is a lot of incentive to not necessarily play fair.
Yeah. Okay. Now, can I become Earl?
Yes, if you were to, say, for example, make war on the other 4 barons, yes, you could, because that would give you 60% of the baronies, which would mean, in effect, you were already defaultly the Earl.
Right now, my main goal is just making sure that my 2 villages will be. Because if I can't protect my 2 villages, I damn well can't be an Earl. So, yeah. Okay. I have goals. As a red dragon, that's gonna be the first thing she's gonna think of is, oh, wow. Do we know who the other Earl is gonna be? Do we know who's, like, the contending? Did he have a son? Did he have a heir? You know, are we in good position with them?
Yeah, an 11's not going to give you that level of
Oh,
information. Yeah.
these dice. It really looked like a 19, but... Oh. Okay. Alright, so... I have little notes on kind of 2 other barons, 4 other could be attacking us. Alright. So, okay. So right now, Old Man is kind of getting our council together. Okay. And can we be the 5 fingers? Yeah, like, you know, like 5 fingers of death. Like the 5 fingers. Yeah. Well, I mean, technically
Wouldn't you need 4 other ones other than you?
No, well, they're the other council members.
So
Old Man.
Alright, I could totally go with the 2 captains of the guard with their 24 people underneath them totally being there. But when it comes to the village elders and Old Man, I'm just really not seeing it.
Well, we have to strengthen them because they have to be, we're the 5 fingers.
Yeah. One guy is, I make rice really good, and that's why I'm the village elder. And the other guy is, I grow mountainside soybeans.
Well, not all the fingers have to be combat fingers. Some of these fingers can be domestic
I make
fingers.
the greatest soy sauce in the valley.
Some of these fingers are domestic.
Some of them really not going to strike fear into your enemies.
Well,
you were going for the whole 5-finger death punch, weren't you?
I was blatantly ripping off a daredevil because I thought it sounded cool. Until I thought about the council people and I was like, yeah, it's probably not as cool.
Probably not as cool.
But, yeah.
Alright, so you go through and you consult with your people. We don't have to roleplay that so far because it's more... How do I put this? People are going to be panicked in that your father, as the news that he's passed, because like I said, your father was a feared man. The way that it's going to be looked at from the other barons who might be aggressive, or other powers, or pirates, or, you know, marauding orc bands, or marauding giants, or any of the things that could happen in your area. The scary guy is now dead, and the person who took over was a little girl. This isn't necessarily going to be utterly terrifying to really schmucky people and humanoids or monsters.
So they don't have faith in me?
They don't know you yet.
Well,
they were scared of your dad because your dad roasted probably thousands of bad guys.
Okay. Who do the people actually of these two villages, do they have somebody that they like or favor? Do they have?
What do you mean?
Like, are one of the guardsmen or the captain of the guards, is one of them like an Alexander, to Caesar? Like, do the people have a favor of a person? Because I'm thinking, I do want to meet with some of the villagers, or at least be in the village so that people can see me. But if they see me, I'd like them to see me with somebody they like, who they might see
well, yeah, if you were to go into the individual villages, keep in mind, an individual village is 1,000 people, most of which are farmers.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about Snowflower, that's farmers and herdsmen. Camilla is mostly farmers and a few fishermen.
Okay.
But I mean, these are people who are out working long hours too. I mean,
is there a way to gather them together? And is there a town hall I can gather people from both villages together? And I could say this is
roll me a history roll.
Okay. Come on. 19! For real!
For real? Okay,
yeah,
so that's a 27. Alright. Your father would have said, sometimes people are the most comfortable when they're nervous, when they're lost in their work. A more creative way to deal with that is you could have your soldiers and the captain of the guard in the areas watching over them more, so to speak, or patrolling more. If you really wanted to, you could actually put more money towards it, but it would take you a little while to build up more troops. The problem is, troops cost money and they have to be housed.
Okay.
I mean, your actual level of spending after taxes, if taxes hold up, is literally 2,289 gold per village. So, together, it's a little over 5,000 gold. I mean, you could technically put on another 25 soldiers on the roster and leave yourself with about 1,400 approximately left over for the year to deal with problems. Another thing that you could do to be creative if anything nasty happened is you could set bounties on anything that was a troublemaker, like a monster or something like that. You could take care of things personally. This is a lot to think about, Sadly...
What do you mean take care of things personally?
Well, you are an adventuring character, in effect.
Well,
yeah. If there's a marauding group of 10 bandits, you actually probably, in most cases, can make short work of your average 10 bandits.
Well, let's say... Okay. Now, because what I do want is I would like one of the things I would have discussed during the council meeting is I do want there to be more protection for the village. I want the villagers to feel like I'm aware of the situation and I am making sure that they are protected.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is, I do... Okay, so it would be...
So you would want the council, the elders, to communicate that, and for the captains to put a more, at least over the short term, because they might not be able to maintain it forever, feeling that there's more security in the village and everything else.
Yeah.
To properly get your minions to do what they're supposed to do, make me a persuasion roll.
Okay, persuasion roll.
Yeah, with advantage.
With advantage.
You're the boss.
I am 19 again.
Okay, 29. Roll again just to see if you get a 20.
1. You said it out loud, so now the dice know.
Well, good. So your own troops won't try and overthrow you, which might have happened. But
That's nice.
They're highly motivated to make people feel more comfortable and stuff like that, and they will do that to the greatest degree that they can.
Okay. As for me, I would like to, in the area right now, are there bounties for bandits that are running around? You know, can I go kind of into the wilds and start, killing the nearby nuisances, or will the village look upon me badly if they know I'm out?
No, it's what your father did.
Okay, well then, yeah.
Your father preferred to keep gold within coffers, and he preferred to smite things personally. If it was within the trade range of your two villages, he was a hands-on kind of person. That did kind of tend to make the villagers nervous because his brothers did die by violent means, but that was war.
Yeah. Okay, so let's, I want to do that. I'd like to kind of make sure, I'd like to be hands-on with the, now that I know the village is being protected by the guard, the villagers, have a little bit more of a, maybe, peace of mind a bit, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Then yeah, so what's happening outside of the villages? Like, what's the immediate threat? Because...
Well, the way I'm going to go about this is you received the news in your father's sword. I would say that was this morning.
Okay.
By the afternoon, into late evening, you were talking with your elders and dealing with that. We're at a point where if you're moving through intermediaries and you're dealing with people who may have had to travel in an old-fashioned way, 10 miles and everything else, we're probably getting to the end of the day. So, it's probably time for you to sleep. It's probably where the sun has gone down, unless you're burning the midnight oil.
I do have a ring of sustenance.
You do?
So, I don't need the midnight hour. I can burn the midnight candle.
You can burn the midnight candle?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you doing while you're burning the midnight candle? Because your servants cannot.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I'd want to, now that everything is, calmed down, I'd like to go outside of the villages. I'd like to spy on the other villagers. Or, not my own villagers!
So you want to go peeping in your own village?
No!
That just doesn't sound right.
Behold,
You freaking nobles! You freaking nobles! You know decency!
I don't want to peep in my own village. I want to go peeping in other villages. Not in a sexual way, but I want to know what's going on in the other village. I want to see, I want to know what's happening. I want to make sure,
keep in mind,
nobody's coming at me.
10 miles of travel by horseback isn't on dirt roads is not what you're used to. You're talking about, in some cases, it could be hours of travel to go back and forth. Right now, your keep wouldn't respond well to, she's missing! Somebody killed her!
Well, I want to do some something productive. Especially if I don't have to
productive. We are handling the most important things you can do in accordance with your background so far.
Well, what is my gear? Am I just wearing
your gear?
Yeah, what am I wearing?
Your focus for profession was being a wizard. So you tend to have robes. Your father was concerned whether or not you would be able to hide and stuff like that, so most of the things that he bought you were silk, but they tended to be of darker colors. They tended not to be flashy things. He tended to try and make it where if you needed to, you could hide, since you were a child.
Yeah.
He thought like an adventurer, not like a typical noble.
Okay. Do I have any stats on anything?
What do you mean?
I don't know.
The one magic item that you've owned your entire life was your ring.
Okay.
The one magic item that you just became in possession of is your father's sword was a katana, because even though it seems like this would all be Chinese-based, Karator is actually a fusion, for the most part, of Japanese history and Chinese history. You know, the out-of-game part of that is literally Karator is, there were gold dragons who moved people from China during emergencies or from Japan to Toril, and those are the ancestors of the people who exist today. The heavier Chinese influence was Shulung Tulung, and the heavier Japanese influence was Kazakura Noir.
Okay. Alright. So, it's nighttime. So one of the things I do want to do is I have a spell called Unseen Servant. And now, how far can he go out? Like, if I was
Read the spell. Read it to me.
Unseen Servant. This spell creates an invisible, mindless, shapeless force that performs simple tasks at your command until the spell ends. The servant springs into existence in an unoccupied space on the ground within range. It has an AC of 10, 1 hit point, and a strength of 2, and it can't attack. If it drops to 0 hit points, the spell ends. Once on each of your turns as a bonus action, you can mentally command the servant to move up to 15 feet and interact with an object. The servant can perform simple tasks that a human servant could do, such as fetching things, cleaning, mending, folding clothes, lighting fire, serving food, and pouring wine. Once you give the command, the servant performs the task to the best of your ability until it completes the task, then waits for your next command. If you command the servant to perform a task that would move it more than 60 feet away from you, the spell ends. Okay, so 60 feet.
And there's a little bit more nuance in that, too. Did you notice where it said, let me just double check this.
Okay.
Of its ability. The thing about it is that an unseen servant, without being hyper skilled, could technically do anything that any servant could. So, you know, you could have an unseen servant make you French fries, or clean the dishes, or take care of a whole bunch of things. People would love to have unseen servant in real life. They would do all of their house chores for them while they were gaming, or something like that. These aren't necessarily complex things. You wouldn't have an unseen servant perform surgery, but...
Well, one of the things I did want to do is, and I know this might be role-playing a bit too hard, but...
Go ahead.
What are the funeral traditions for Chulung? Like, I don't want to make it out like I didn't do anything as a funeral service for my father.
Tulum actually participates in what's referred to as ancestor worship.
Okay.
There's also in some ways it'll be what philosophy you get into. This will be one of the things off the website in the internal forums you can take a look at.
The Path of Enlightenment, I think, was one of them, right?
Path of Enlightenment. There is ancestor worship. There's also anything that would have to do with the standard religion of the area, which would also have to do with the celestial court and everything else. They don't view the gods of Faerun the way the Westerners do. It's not as chaotic, it's not a debate forum. Everybody has precise jobs, everybody does precise things. However, the way that it's viewed as a matter of homebrew is that the goddess of love for Tulum, and within that area is the same goddess of love, Suni, that's in the Western thing. She has a different appearance, and she has other differences, but they're cultural differences, and it's the way that the people perceive that's different.
Okay. Okay.
In other words, the divine does adjust to the prejudices of the people who are worshipping. It doesn't mean that they give up their morals, it doesn't mean that they give up their portfolio, it doesn't mean that they don't strive to make people better, but it does mean that they adjust to what was there before. Plus, in a really weird way, if there had been competitive gods over 100 years ago during the time of Troubles, there was literally a thing from, and this is getting deep into religion, but might as well just go ahead and explain it. Lord Ao, literally had a pronouncement that the power of the deity would be based off of the number of people worshipping, and the inevitable problem with that is that the smaller represented gods, in effect, died, and the greater ones took over for that.
Well, okay, so I kind of have an idea of what I want to do. I would like to, firstly, I'm going to summon my unseen servant, because I would like to go down to the Subaki village. Is that possible, or is it 10 miles away from?
10 miles away, you have a horse, you could be there in a few hours.
I'd like to...
Keep in mind, you would be riding in the dark.
Well... I would... Well, then... How could I get things to the Subaki village fast?
Well, I mean, technically, you could take your dragon form and fly over there. That would go over really poorly. Yeah.
Well, I would like
Probably half of your citizens would then flee for their lives and never return.
Well, then I'd like to... I'm imagining... I'm guessing that in this... Right now, I'm kind of just sitting at the house, or at my home, and...
Well, your home is literally a large wooden fort that's actually larger with its military pieces and everything else than your average modern mansion.
Okay.
And is also built within the side of a mountain. But I mean, it just owes to the reality that you are a baron, you do have political enemies, and you have to have a space large enough that if any village was attacked, the people themselves could be hidden as much as possible within the forts themselves, because that's their only chance of survival.
Alright, then I guess one of the things I would do, or that Ezra would do is, I'd like to, just, I guess, create a very nice display of the camellia flowers in honor of my father. As far as for a noble death. And although his death was violent, he died fighting beside his men. So I would like to, kind of have like a display for him, just for something, like I know I'm probably playing too much into the roleplay of the portion, but I go,
No, I even have a way to do this culturally with the skills that you have, and this is going to sound really weird.
Okay.
But what I want you to do is I want you to make a history, because it's going to be even though you were mostly raised human, it's going to be your best way to do this as a human. It would be a charisma plus history roll, which would effectively be at plus 10.
Okay.
To see how well you do, like the arrangement for your father. You have your father's sword, which you're going to carry with you and have near you at all times, because it is, in effect, your badge of office.
Yeah.
But, in the long run, you might even try and make, like, a lifelike, or have commissioned a lifelike statue of your father.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, but in the meantime, a flower arrangement of that sort, history plus charisma plus 10. Okay. Well, I do 20.
15.
Okay, so that's a 25. So it's amazingly beautiful, and people who see what you did will be very touched.
Okay. All right, then.
And your father's spirit will be touched by it.
Okay. Then I'm happy. So, is it still nighttime, or?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, then I would...
Roll initiative.
Oh, damn it. See, I'm just making a little flower display, and...
Mm-hmm.
12.
So, you're making your beautiful flower arrangement in the dead of night.
Nobody better mess this up. I'm gonna get real pissed.
You gonna get real pissed?
I'm gonna get real pissed if someone messes up these flowers.
Funny you should say that. You hear the soft pattering of an assassin's footwork behind you coming up, with which you can sense and smell is a poisoned blade that they're about to try and off the last remaining member of your father's line, which is you.
I know it's me.
Okay. Now see how clearly you think, considering that they're coming right up to kill you and probably kick over your flower arrangement. Make me a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. 13.
13 plus 6, 19, you're good. You're good. You're calm. You're mad, but you're calm.
Okay, so can I cast a spell?
You can cast a spell at this person.
I cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter.
Ah! Read it to me.
Alright. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Like, you mess with the flowers.
Go ahead.
A creature of your choice that you can see within range perceives everything as hilariously funny and falls into fits of laughter. If this spell affects it, the target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or fall prone, becoming incapacitated and unable to stand up for the duration. A creature with an intelligence score of 4 or less isn't affected. At the end of each of its turn, and each time it takes damage, the target can make another wisdom saving throw. The target has advantage on the saving throw if it's triggered by damage. On a success, the spell ends.
Okay. So, a very ninja-like character with a ninja-like form comes padding up with like little ninja boots behind you, just like the old cover of the first edition Oriental Adventures. He has literally a Ninja 2 sword that is literally coated in poison, and as he's running up and your spell goes off, he begins to cackle at you and your flower arrangement.
Is this my spell cackle, or is this a...
You believe it's your spell cackle.
Okay.
What do you do?
Firebolt.
Okay. Read the spell.
Firebolt. I already know what it is, but yeah. You hurl a multiplier at a creature or object within range. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, the target takes 1d10 fire damage. A flammable object hit by this spell ignites if it isn't being worn or carried. This better not burn down my fort or my flowers. Of which I would be even more mad. It's gonna look crazy if we burn the fort down on the first day of office.
It's not that big of a fire, but you never know where this could lead.
Okay, well I have Ray of Frost. I mean,
you already said firebolt.
Well, no, I'm doing firebolt.
Okay,
firebolt.
roll to hit.
Okay. 3.
Yeah, it streams right past the person who's incapacitated with laughter and sets fire to the far wall.
Okay. Where are my guards?
Huh?
Where are my guards?
Probably on their way soon, but, you know, you were having a private moment and they were asleep.
Fort? Oh my god.
A wooden fort? Because a wooden fort's better Than no fort.
Nobody's seen this, so I'm just gonna blame it on this guy. He was a powerful wizard.
Alright.
So I cast Firebolt.
And missed.
And missed. Now what's he doing?
Well, he hasn't successfully made a saving throw yet, so he's still cackling.
Is he like on the ground, or is he?
But kind of, but still able to move a little bit.
Oh, wow. Okay, so now I guess, damn. Okay. Can I cast Ray of Frost at the fire that's burning? Or is he gonna get to me in time before? I don't. How far is he away from me? Is what I should ask.
I'd say about 15 feet.
Okay.
If he was spry and not cackling, like somebody who's spraying beer from their nose, he could immediately get to you. He is not doing that well right now.
Okay. So. Let's do Ray of Frost on him.
On him?
Yep.
Read Ray of Frost.
I'm gonna do a little, like, bookmark on all these spells, too. I used to. Different campaign. Okay, Ray of Frost. A frigid beam of blue-white light streaks toward a creature within range. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, it takes 1d8 cold damage, and its speed is reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn.
So roll it to hit.
2.
And it was a roll it to hit, not a saving throw.
Yeah. It was... Let me just make sure. On a hit, it takes 1d8 cold damage, and its speed is reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn.
Alright. You've now twice missed the Tasha's Laughter Ninja. seems to get very serious after you miss him. There's a small fire, by the way, on the back wall.
How strong am I?
What do you mean?
Could I pick him up and throw him on the fire? I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone here.
Trying to kill two birds with one. Okay, ninja, poison, sword, pick him up and throw him at that? Yes, yeah, you probably
stab
could.
me by that time, wouldn't he?
There's always the potential, yeah. So you want to pick him up and throw him on the fire to put the fire out on the far wall.
No.
Roll me it to hit.
Well, I'd have to get close to him, right?
It's only 15 feet.
But is he gonna stab me in that time?
Potentially.
I'm gonna be stabbed.
One way or another, his goal is to stab you. It's just what actions are you going to take in the meantime?
Okay, I want to do charm person. Hey!
It's only going to solve your problem for an hour. You've been under the best of circumstances.
Razzle-dazzle here. I have a plan.
Yeah, right?
I'm gonna pull the old razzle-dazzle on him.
You pull the old razzle-dazzle?
I'm not doing a great job with the spellcasting, okay?
Okay.
My offensive spells are bad right now.
Yeah. First level wizard kinda isn't the best.
Charm person.
Well, let's see. Your spell DC is a 16. And you cast Charm Person on him. There's a flash on his eyes as he moves up close to you. You believe he may be charmed.
Okay, I immediately, drop your knife.
When he barely misses your face with the poison blade,
Oh, God!
you believe he may not be charmed.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What are you gonna do?
Charm person again. Let me live my life.
There's a flash upon his eyes.
Can I run 20 feet away from this guy?
You can, but you'd be exposing your back. Do you want to do that?
No. Can I grab him by the throat?
Yeah, but hostile action could cancel your charm.
And I have the katana.
Hold on for a second.
What?
How many first level spells do you have right now?
3.
Oh, so you used all 3 already. Okay, roger that.
Oh, so I don't have another charm person?
No, you cast... Well, hold on. Let me see the book real quick.
Okay.
Just double checking.
When is the next day? Is
I
it
think
midnight?
you're confusing spell slots.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you... Rolling back. I'm gonna let you redo, because it's been a little while since you played this, but you are done with your first level spells for the day.
Okay, so now I'm down to cantrips.
Okay, hold on. He's already done the swipey with the poison blade. Now, you can attack him with cantrips, You could attack him with your father's sword if you wanted to.
Yeah, let's do the sword.
Okay.
You have such a blank face. I'm like trying to read you like, sword? What? You like... Okay, let's do the sword.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to stab him right in the gut. Like, and like with all my strength.
With all your strength?
With all my strength. Through the freaking, like, yeah. All the strength.
Okay. Roll a die 20.
I know.
What'd you roll?
4.
Plus 8 is a 12. Does not hit. Roll again. You get more than one attack. If you were a typical first level character, you wouldn't. What'd you roll?
13.
13 plus 8 is a 21. 21 does hit and find purchase. Roll a die 10 and add 8 to it.
Okay.
With the 8 added, it's 12? I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 12. Alright, you get one more roll.
On the... Okay. 11.
So 11 plus 8 would be 19. 19 hits. Roll a die 10.
9.
9. 9 plus 8 would be 17. He rolls his attack on you. And misses.
Okay. I go to stab him again. A 6 or a 9? Oh. 9. It's a 9.
9. 9 plus 8.
17.
I'm calculating his...
Oh.
Yeah, that hits. Roll a die 10.
6.
6 plus 8 is 14. Roll again.
20.
Natural 20?
Nat 20.
Nat 20 is a critical. Roll me 2 die 10.
10 on the nat 10.
And?
And 7. A 10 and a 7.
17, so it's 25. This pen's dying on me. Roll again.
Nat 20, or the... A 6.
6 does not hit. Hold on, let me do the math real quick. His attack. Miss.
Okay. I continue to attack him with the sword. Okay. 14.
14 plus 8 is 22. Hits. Die 10.
7.
7? 7 plus 8 is 15. Okay.
Can I keep trying to stab him? 8.
8 plus 8 is a 16. 16 hits. 10. 10 plus 8 is 18. Go ahead again.
14.
14 hits.
6.
6 plus 8 is 14. 1 second for the math. Okay. You have a series of large cuts that go against him, and at the point that you lop off his head, you're pretty sure he's defeated.
Okay. Decapitation. Does anybody see me?
Yeah, the guards are making it to the side. And on one hand, they seem very proud that you've killed your first person, and then on the other hand, they're immediately running for water so that the fort doesn't burn down from the spreading fire on the wall.
Awesome. Will they take care of that?
Well, you could cantrip.
Oh, can I do prestidigitation? And can I help?
Yeah, pour water upon it from that. Yeah.
Okay, so I cast prestidigitation.
You spend the next minute removing any trace of the fire against it. There's actually a hole in the area there that will need a repair.
Okay. So, it seems like... Okay, now that I know somebody sent an assassin after me, I need to find out who.
Do you want to take a look at
Yeah,
the assassin?
I wanna search him. Yeah, let's search him.
Okay. The assassin appears to be very skilled. He's not entirely human.
Oh, what is he?
He not only had human skin and stuff like that, but instead of hair, he had a frock of crow feathers for hair.
Ew.
And some feathers instead of some of the hair that would have normally been upon his arms.
Okay.
The poison that was on the blade has a really odd and foul, fishy smell. It seems to be some kind of almost maybe like a pufferfish kind of poison.
Okay.
Which, by the way, would have cost you if it was pufferfish stuff, because, you know... Well, actually... roll me a history check to see whether or not you know what that would do.
Ooh, dice off table. 20. Nat 20.
Nat 20? You would have asphyxiated to death
Oh.
from the wounds from this.
Wow, I'm mad now. I'm actually really pissed. How are my flowers?
Your flowers are fine. You never disturb them.
Nice, nice. So, does he have anything in his pockets? Okay, let's...
He has, what looks to be an eggshell, and from the smell of it, there's like some kind of powder on the inside of it that's very caustic. And there's another eggshell, and from the smell of it, there's sand within it.
What are these?
Like literally where somebody took an eggshell and they hollowed out the front, poured out the contents, let it dry, and then poured something on the inside of it and waxed the top so that they could use it as something to throw. He had hand devices that he put on that were little claws that he probably used to get up the wall of the fort.
I take those.
And he had a backup dagger that was also soaked in that same fishy poison.
Okay. Can I take the daggers without harming myself?
You can. They're not magical. They are kind of caustic, and the poison won't last forever. It'll eventually...
Okay, well, I don't want the daggers. Yeah, I'm not gonna take the daggers, but I do take the little hand things. And... Okay. Now... can I... Okay, so... trying to think, like, where do I go from now? Like, should I have my guards pretend that, you know, that they got me so I can try to see what comes into the village? Or, you know, will that just...
What do you mean?
Well, if I were to pretend that the assassin was right, and I had my guards pretend that, you know, I had died, would the person reveal themselves? Would they waltz into the village? I mean, but that takes a risk.
Maybe a history roll.
19.
There are only 4 people who could have benefited from you're of... Well, unless, like, a village elder was trying to take your place, or the captain of the guard was trying to take your place, which in neither case do you believe it's true. The people who would have most benefited were the four barons that I said were not a member of the faction. The factional barons aren't going to attack you. One of the other 4. And the thing is they would need to take somebody out. You're a tempting target because you're a child and you're in effective control of 2 baronies.
Okay.
So by just killing you, a single individual would have half of what he needed to get to be in control of the earldom. If he wiped out another one, he would be 5/6 of the way there. He would literally control half of it.
Okay.
And if he could do it without having to kill one of his troops by paying for an assassin, then he could do it almost bloodlessly and just move his military in.
Okay, so let's not do that option. I want to take this guy's body and you know, the thingy.
The thingy?
The thingy, like...
You're gonna have to be more specific than the thingy.
I want to take his body and... What's the word for it?
Mm-hmm.
This would be terrible if I was trying to talk to my guards. Take his body and put it on the thingy! Like... I don't know, I can't think of the word!
What was it from The Good Place? Yeah, we could bring out the penis pulverizer, but, you know, we've done that.
You know what it's called? Impale him on the top of the fort. I want everybody to see.
Okay, they can do that. I'd be more than happy to do that.
But the villagers aren't going to be, like, grossed out? Okay. Well, I don't know, like... I don't want to gross them out. Like, you guys aren't grossed out by this, but...
He didn't have any letters, no signet rings. It's not really clear who he was. Like I said, he's not human.
Do any parts of his... Now, as far as... We never really talked about, like, craftsmen. Like, could I be, like, how would I become, like, an alchemist if I wanted to do that at some point? Like, honestly, I don't want to be...
You can be an alchemist at some point. You've already got the skill, arcane.
Yeah.
But you would want tool use with alchemy tools. And then, what you would actually be doing is you would use alchemy at half the cost of a potion to construct a potion off of a spell that you know. So say, for example, you wanted to make, say... You used alchemy to construct a lipstick that allowed you to kiss somebody with the lipstick, and then it would inflict charm person on them, out of the spells you currently know. You would have to make it in X amount of doses at half the cost it would cost to buy it.
Okay. Now, can I make a roll to see if, before I impale him onto the fort, because he's not human, is there any pieces of him that I can cut off or take off and sell? Or use? Waste not, want not.
He seems to be, like, make a history roll.
Damn it, 4.
You know he's a spirit folk. He's probably, like, half or quarter Kingu.
Oh.
There's a few different, almost shape-shifting folk, but they're kind of rare in this area. They're more common in Wa.
Nice. So he's rare?
But his body parts aren't really worth anything.
Damn it.
No more than a crow's body parts would be.
Damn. Okay. Alright, well, let's just impale him on the top of the fort.
Alright, we'll go with the impale thing. Alright.
Let's just do that.
So you impale him on the top of the fort to basically go, we will not be assassinated.
So, now I'm kind of pissed. You know, like, and my... Okay. Well, I'm pissed, but I'm also on my guard. So I tell my guardsmen to be stationed, like, I need to rest. And not because I need to rest, but I need to get my spell slots back.
Yeah, well, you don't get 8 hours of sleep. You don't get spell slots.
So, tell my guards to watch over me so I can sleep. So I can get my power back up. Because as pissed as I am, I don't want to not have spell slots. And, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, can I do that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's what I want to do.
So you sleep. You sleep deeply for 8 hours. It's late into the next day when you finally wake up.
Okay. Bye.
And as you're wandering out, looking sort of frantic with news, there's an old man with some pieces of paper that were obviously delivered by the messenger birds. And give me an insight check.
15.
15. So, he looks deeply concerned like something horrible has happened.
What's wrong?
So you go up and you ask him what's wrong, and that's where we'll end it for today.
Oh. Ooh, this was fun. Did you have fun?
Huh?
Cool.